the script, my agent said, well, I don't know if you'll do this, it's too violent. And I really liked the story, and then I saw Bone Tomahawk, and I loved that, and I knew it was an odd movie. Bone Tomahawk was great. But I really liked the director. When I met with Craig, I was just very impressed with him. He's very original. He writes all his own material. He's just a very unique guy. So I really trusted him, and I knew it was a lot of work. I had to do a lot of different things to prepare for the movie, but that sort of made me excited. And I guess it was the scene where he finds out that his wife is cheating. Hey, how are you? Come to see it. He finds out that his wife is cheating, and then he's so filled with hurt and rage that he beats the shit out of the car because he doesn't want to do anything to her. And then I liked that in that scene, it kind of brought them together in a way. Like the expectations would be that he would leave her, but he wasn't like just begging for her to stay with him without any self-respect. It felt like they've both been through a lot. They're sober. There's a lot of pain there. More than just a sexual relationship. There's clearly a friendship and a support group. And oddly, it made me really like them and root for them that they decided to, you get that there was a miscarriage and some struggles and mistakes, but I liked the forgiveness of it, and I kind of found it surprising that the movie went that way, and then the movie continued to surprise as you went through and read it originally as a script.
When you got the script, did he say to you, shaved head, tattoo on the head?
He did, yeah, and I was cool with it as long as I felt that there was a point of view to the movie, so I was excited to get a chance to dive into something like that. I see the movie really as like an old Greek myth, like a cautionary tale. It's a morality tale. He has a choice to make to do things. He knows it's wrong. And I think what makes Zoller a unique storyteller is once he makes a decision to sell drugs and he knows it's not a good decision, but his life is kind of now moving more positive, he clearly has, he's listening to kind of a God song and about Jesus. But then he looks over and he sees a guy who has meth mouth, who's really struggling with drug addiction. This is after he's already taken his journey. A lot of times people would hide that and say, okay, now we're on the journey, let's forget that. But yet he's reminded a second time of the casualties he's causing, and he still stays on the journey. And I found that very unique, as well as the prison guard who gives Bradley a really hard time. He finally turns right before I break his arm, and he kind of is nice and says, I'm sorry, I've just been trying to get you the boxing program, right? And normally you would keep the guy mean, and so when you broke his arm, like in a test audience way, you'd say, well, the audience is okay with it because the guy was a dick. But he lets him off the hook, and he actually shows a guy who's a little tough love. And I just found that to be very bold, and I just am not conditioned to seeing people make those choices. So I thought those things were very unique and cool.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're watching it, you're not expecting that turn. And that, I think, as an audience member, when we've seen a million different things and, it sort of moves on the similar path, when it takes an unexpected turn, I think we all enjoy it. Talk a little bit about what it's like walking around with the shaved head and the tattoo, and did you enjoy taking that first spin, offset?
You mean, did I like walking around like that? I don't know. I think you do it for the movie and you're kind of into it. There was so much preparation. That was my focus. And then, you didn't have a lot of, we shot the whole thing in 25 days, it was very ambitious. So.
By the way, like for people that don't realize, 25 days is really fast.
Really fast. And it was dangerous the way we did the fight scenes. You don't see those kinds of fight scenes in American cinema. Whether, there's an old movie kind of, with Buster Keaton or Fred Astaire. I think Fred Astaire had it in his contract where you had to shoot him in full frame so the audience knew it was him doing it. And I think in this movie, it was important to Craig to kind of see that the actors were the ones in the fight scenes. So there's 10, 15, 20 punch combinations that are fluid and multiple attackers, and you have to, you can't really sell it. You have to really commit to it. And doing that in a very short period of time, I think it's the lesson we learn in the industry time and time again. If you have time to rehearse, which we did in this case, and prepare, when you get to the set, you can move so much faster, it's so much more fun, because everyone kind of knows what they're going to do. Then you can jump into kind of a tight situation, a challenging situation, but because you feel prepared, you're able to kind of, the plane lands at the right time. You're able to just sort of trust fall, jump off the cliff, and have things go well. But all those things were very ambitious, but we had time to rehearse with the actors and talk through stuff with the director, so it made it feasible.
Well, I mean, those wide shots when you're fighting, I mean, that kind of makes, for me, that makes the action scene. That makes the action set piece. When you know it's really you, So how many takes do you do on something like that?
You know, we wouldn't do as many. It depended on the execution of it. So we didn't really have a safety valve in some of them, so you'd have to get them right. But you knew you were committed to that. So he's got very unique taste. He kind of sits by the camera. Sometimes performing in a Zoller movie, I feel like I'm a kid. He's a kid and he's kind of playing with his toys, and you're one of them. He kind of just sits right by the camera. Get used to it, kind of watches. He'll say, that's it, we'll move on. He doesn't watch a monitor. So you kind of go full out until he kind of feels like he has it. And sometimes quickly. There was times though I kept getting hit with that cast, and there's nothing else you can do but kind of go through it, you know. So you just have to really be committed. And I think what's unique is that his taste is unique with the fighting stuff. The musical choices he writes are unique. The tones are unique. I think it's not like a film I've seen. The tone is everything in a movie. Like, is it earnest? Is it funny? And I think he does a good job of going in and out and bringing the audience along with him. So, yeah, all of it is really his. I think he makes the movies for himself first, and his taste. You know, the process is very unique for something like this. As a lot of you know, there's a lot of test audiences usually involved. He doesn't do that. Zoller he has his partner Dallas mortgaged his house to make Bone Tomahawk. Bone Tomahawk was shot like 22 days. The Western is crazy, but believed in Zoller. They make that movie. I think they kind of argue over length and cuts. Then they show it to a group of maybe 30 friends, and they lock the picture. Same with this movie. Zoller will screen with an audience. He's only curious in confusion. Is the audience lost? Is there something maybe I didn't track? But other than that, his aesthetic is really his choices, which is quite remarkable.
You have gotten really great reviews for your performance in this movie, and with good reason. Did you have any idea that when you were making this, that people would respond so fondly to your performance and to the movie?
I didn't get that far ahead of it. I just was excited to be doing something that I felt passionate about with the director who was really going in trying to do something he wanted to do. And so at that point, you're committed. You know, it doesn't really serve you well to think about that stuff as much as just try to be undeniable, right? Try to be as connected to, whether it's the fighting or the performances, just be as prepared as possible to be existing within it. And then afterwards, obviously, I mean, to get into all of the film festivals and, you know, have the run that we've had has been exceptional, but I don't know that you could plan for that. I mean, Swingers was similar. We didn't know. I mean, we liked the movie. It was kind of, you know, unique. There was
Wait, you were in Swingers?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had no idea going.
But those early things were that way. Clay Pigeons, the director of Clay Pigeons and Wedding Crashers is here, David Dobkin and Andrew Panay, but Clay Pigeons was very similar. We were kind of, that movie was very unique and tonally interesting, and I don't know if we thought, you know, what the course would be, but was making the movie for himself. So I don't know that you get ahead of it, and you hope people like it, but I don't know that you think that when you're making it, if you're working from that place, you're just trying to do something that you feel very connected about. It's a very exciting feeling to be doing something because you want to do it, not doing it hunting an audience, you know, hoping to please too many people.
I've been asking this of a lot of actors recently. When was the last time you auditioned for a role?
I haven't auditioned in a very long time, but I was never a very good auditioner.
Sure. Do you remember what it was the last time?
No, I don't remember what it was. I've been, you know, after Swingers, I didn't really audition anymore. But I did a lot younger and was always really grateful to get an audition.
Sure.
I was thrilled to have any opportunity, and I think maybe there's something generational. I just thought, you know, God, if I could be in a scene, I would like that, or get to be creative, I would enjoy that. I mean that honestly. Like, these kids are savvier, like they're leveraging it to sell brands, or they're owning like startup companies in San Francisco. Like, we were just hoping to get like, you could get like a reoccurring role. You were happy to call your mom and say you were in something. So yeah, I really was just so grateful to have an agent and to audition. It was just your day. Like, you go for an audition and you wouldn't get a call back. It just became like a routine, you know. No, it's been a while since I've auditioned.
I think that you guys mined it for comedy gold, obviously, in Swingers. I mean, that there's bugs flying around. It's not just, you know, it's not the drugs, I promise. So I think I might have asked you this in the past. There's another question I ask a lot of actors. A lot of people like the Clint Eastwood method of shooting a rehearsal and doing a take or two and moving on, and others like the Fincher method of like 50, 60, 70 takes and just keep on drilling at a scene. Obviously with some of the action here, you can't do something like that, but in a movie with, do you have a preference on these kinds of, the way those directors work?
You have to really enjoy the people you're collaborating with and believe in the process and give over to it, and it's unique depending on the other actors. Obviously, it's a director's medium, so you just try to be flexible with them. I think at your best, you try to be including and helpful to someone else with their process, and you're allowed your own. But I don't mind doing one take and moving on. Younger, I probably wouldn't have felt as good about that, but now I don't mind it. And I also don't mind sometimes exploring within the context of a scene too. Again, when you're doing something like this and the time frame is so tight, you kind of, it's a different mentality, and sometimes that lends itself to better work because you really do have to be prepared, and there's a focus that comes with realizing that your days are important to make.
Do you remember, was there one film that you've done in the past or something, project you've done in the past where you did a crazy amount of takes? And do you remember the reason why?
I'm sure I have. I don't remember. I'm sure I have. Just sometimes improvising or playing with stuff, or someone has an idea, or there's a timing issue with the camera. So I don't remember anything as significant as 50 or 60 takes. But I think there's always more than one way to the waterfall. There's not one right way to do anything. I think people find a process that makes sense for them. And, I think it's sometimes you get comfortable with that. It's scary to try something different, but a lot of times it's great to try something different. But I never had 70 takes from that.
You got to work with Don Johnson in this. You have to talk a little bit about, did you grow up with Don Johnson? Was it like a real thrill to collaborate with him on this one?
I didn't grow up with him in the sense that we knew each other as young children, but yes, I grew up with him as a guy that I watched, and I always thought he was cool. Of course, Miami Vice, but he's done a lot of great work in the last couple of years. He's been in some pretty interesting films. I like the stuff he's doing, but he's tremendous in the movie. He's very minimalistic, connected to what he's saying, not try hard. Very subtle. I think that's Zoller's taste in the performances. Everything's kind of simple. I think Jennifer Carpenter's tremendous in the movie as well. She's got a tough job because all her scenes, she's either like getting checked out by an abortionist or kidnapped, or so it's like everything is like level 10, and she's just so believable in all of those scenes. You really buy her that she's in that predicament. So, and Udo's so cool. He's great, Udo Kier. He kind of throws it away, right? My employer, he's tremendous, and of course Fred, when I'm checking into the prison, is cool. There's a lot of interesting performances.
We have to talk a little bit about the car at the beginning of the film. How do you film something like that?
Well, that was a real car. We kind of did it. It's kind of written. You got rage, and I think we all can be in touch with that. It's interesting in life. I think not always, but a lot of times, underneath a lot of rage is really a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain, right? And sometimes the other way, where sometimes under a lot of pain, I've seen it like in acting classes, people are real sad and they can't get mad, and then finally when they do, it's almost the most scary, like they have the most power, they just aren't channeling it. So it's that level of a guy who's really, you get a hint at his background, and I think there's been some abuse, he's been abused, he's seen a lot of violence, he clearly boxed, he doesn't want to hurt anyone, he doesn't want to be involved in that, he probably did younger, and he's afraid of that moment of what he's capable of to her, so better the car than her. And he can't control himself, he can control himself enough to get away from her, but he's too rageful for what that betrayal represents to him not to manifest it in some way.
That's one of the things that
we've all done that in some way, like you break a controller to your TV because you're mad, you're like, well, no, I can't watch fucking TV, right? Or a controller to a video game or something, right? And then the moment I think it's like, this is a car, so that's kind of more significant for a guy who's unemployed.
This is a good poll question. Has anyone here ever broken the video game controller? Because I'll raise my hand right now.
Sure.
There it is. That's being honest. One of the things I like about the character is he has a strong moral compass. And it's he'll do certain things and he will not touch other things. Can you sort of talk about that? Obviously, talk a little bit about that aspect of the character, and is that all in the script, or was anything found while you guys were on set?
It was in the script. I like that it's complicated. Like there's certain things he'll do, and then he's sort of hypocritical in some ways. And I think all the characters are kind of authentically interesting. There's a code for some of them. Don Johnson sort of has a code too. Don always said, which I could see, he sees himself going home to like a wife and a kid and grandkids and having a lap dog. But then when he comes to work, like this is his world, right? So I don't know. I feel like again, I think it's a morality tale. It's like a myth in a way that once the die is cast, once he makes a decision to do the thing, even though you can understand why, it's a matter of time until that sort of, comes home to roost. So yes, he comes back. He doesn't want to see people get killed. He's not going to rat out Gil, and there's those things, but he does see the guy who's struggling with drug addiction, and he doesn't stop doing it. So I think he does have a moral compass, but I think there's some hypocrisy and some struggling with it.
I'm always curious about memorable moments from filming. Is there a day or two you'll always remember from making this?
It's such a blur, it was like, you're getting stunned one day in your class, and then you're fighting, and then you're crying. It was so intense. So every day was just like you couldn't believe you got through it, but you had to go at it the next day. So we did 11 pages in one day. But that's the way it is.
For people that don't realize, on like a big movie, you can sometimes just do a page or two.
Usually it's a couple pages, it depends. But it was all very, very enjoyable. I kind of liked the process that way, but it was they were all memorable. I think most days on movie sets, or any job that you do, hopefully, you kind of try to just prepare to sort of see where things go.
I don't want to jump too far ahead and talk about quote-unquote future projects, but you just teamed up with him again, and your partner in the new one is Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mel's tremendous. Mel's one of my favorite filmmakers. I love Apocalypto. I think is like a whole other kind of movie. And of course, Braveheart, Passion of the Christ. And I was fortunate enough to be in Hacksaw Ridge, which was terrific with him. And me and him just finished the next Zoller movie, and a lot of the cast in this are in the Zoller movie as well. Jennifer's in it, Don's in it, Udo's in it, Fred's in it. So me and Mel played two detectives in that. It's a very cool screenplay, and Zoller's got a little bit more money and a little bit more time, still very ambitious for what we did. But
26 days?
No, it was a little longer, 40-something days, so we had some time. But it's a longer movie, longer script, but Mel's tremendous in the movie. It's very, very, very interesting film.
I believe you guys play cops? Or
We play police officers, yes.
I so have so many questions, but I'm going to leave you on that one and not drill you, except to say that I'm really already looking forward to it.
That one I think will be rated R. That will get kind of a more traditional release.
Are you sure?
Well, we'll see. There's all our plans on it, so he kind of does what he intends to do.
Right. Was that? And I'm going to leave it alone. But is that a project? So does he pitch you on it while you're filming this?
Yes, he came to me during this and said, "Gotta have some other stuff." It was a project that he wanted to do, that he had written. He says he has like 27 scripts that have been sold to studios, and they all like them, but they don't really want to make them. They're nervous, and then they'll want to, because it's unique, and so they all kind of like it. They become like, as he says, good bathroom reading for the studios. But he won't take notes. Like they'll give him note. He doesn't care. His focus is he'd rather not have his movie made than have it made a way he doesn't like. He's very unique. There's a lot of really famous stories of people calling him and saying, we want to do this and do this. And there's one story, I think, where he had like a rim shot. He's also like in a death metal band. You can't even make this stuff up. It's crazy. Did any of you know his band, Realm Builders? It's nuts. You do, right? And he